I got a couple of housekeeping things to go over with you. I want to do a little role play today. Who wants to share some information, some good news from your Bold 100 activities yesterday? Did anybody set an appointment that they'd like to share? Did anyone have any cool conversations that they'd like to share? Did they add some people to the database? Tell me some good news. All right, y'all need me to play some music in the morning or something? Who had some fun yesterday? Did anyone make any calls?
I did. Haven't set an appointment yet.
All right, Travis, talk to us.
I did. I haven't set an appointment yet, but it was a good chance to catch up with people I haven't spoken to in years that I think are going to be beneficial here in the future. I just haven't picked up the phone in years, and we kind of just drifted apart. But I'm rebuilding those relationships right now instead of trying to, push real estate at them. The first thing, that we talk about, it was just rebuilding relationships that I haven't, dealt with in years, which is going to be beneficial, I think.
Awesome. So I'm gonna piggyback on that for a second while we're on the idea of role play. Can you kind of walk us through how that happened? Like, what did you guys talk about? Did you bring up real estate? How did you bring up real estate? How was it received? Like, where does the conversation going to go next? Did you make any promises? Can you walk us through some of that dialogue?
Sure, sure. It was just pretty much. I know we haven't talked in years. How's the family going? These are like old colleagues too.
Yeah.
So how's work going? Are you still there? How are old friends that we worked with? Everything like that. And then they'd ask back, "What am I doing now?" And I would explain what I'm doing and everything. And I just got into it. And they were excited about it. And a few times, yeah, it did come up. Like, "Hey, do you want to talk in the future a little bit about it?" We're like, "Yeah, we'll just talk about that in the future." Because I did have one guy saying that he was. They were talking about moving soon, but he has to talk about his girl, and think about it, like stuff like that. I was like, no problem, I'll get back to you, and
jump on that now. Jump on that. Say, hey, you and your girl and me, let's set an appointment right now. Right? If they express interest, you jump on that appointment.
It sounded like more of an internal conversation about them, whether they're going to or not.
Well, I would say, hey, listen, there's a lot of information out there and a lot of misinformation out there. And I want to make sure that you guys make a strategic move whenever you're ready for that. Okay. So I will move at your pace. Or we can go super fast or super slow, but I want to make sure that you know that I want to be your point person.
I did also mention, I was like, hey, I do want to touch base later and everything. So I set it up where I will be calling them back in the future to kind of push that conversation to the next level.
Okay. Yeah, don't be too shy now.
Okay.
I'm thinking to myself, let's call them today and say like, hey, I thought about this and I don't want you to get in the hands of a weak.
I ordered on the app. It's Pam
S. So Bill, this is Mary. What I would probably do as a friend, I would ask them out to dinner, ask them out for dinner or lunch. And then that would be more comfortable. You've already have a friendship with them. You're not really pushing real estate, but then just bring up the subject during that time.
Great idea. His wife too. Right. All the decision makers, let's get them together. And, like you suggested, we're making an effort to not rebuild as if it was strained, but to kind of put some more energy into the relationship, right? Hey, I'm going to be in your area, Tuesday night. You want to go grab a beer or something, right? Or, hey, I've got some time Thursday morning, you want to grab a cup of coffee. Great idea. That's a very good idea, Mary. Thank you. Tell us a little bit more, Travis.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much went like that. It was good connecting with them, and the conversations went longer, in some of them but it was reconnecting with old friends, which turned more into that than a business call. Then it turned into old stories and old friends, and so it was kind of just like a reconnecting because I haven't connected in a few years with some of them. So it's just good to hear them. But they're still mostly in the area. They're a little bit more downtown, like Buckhead area. So I don't know how I would kind of approach that. What do you think about that? Because they are all downtown.
You cool with downtown, right?
I mean, I can go down there. Obviously, I'm not busy.
Well, I would that would be the first city on my list of markets that I'm gonna make sure I'm comfortable with, right? So we haven't actually talked about this in a long time. Let me just spend a minute on it. So like I'm trying to remember who it doesn't make a difference. Somebody was looking at some homes in, Kimberly was looking at some homes in Canton and Woodstock and Ball Ground, right? And so she's going to have a client up there very soon. So I suggested, and just like I would suggest for you, maybe in Bucket now, is if your prospects are talking about a specific area, and you know they have a specific price range target, then your job as a professional realtor is to go become an expert in that market, right? So you might say to yourself, Bucket, what can I get in Bucket for 250 and lower? And you go into FMLS and you go and see everything that's on the market for 250 and lower, right? What could I get from 250 to 400? And you see everything that's on the market. Can I get a 1-bedroom in a fancy building, or could I get a 2-bedroom? You know, how much do I have to pay to get a 3-bedroom? What buildings are, have concierge, and what's the parking situation like, and where are the amenities, and where are the buildings? Like if I take the right on Far Road, what happens, right? You're really like learning the area. So the assumption is that you are the expert in the market. So if you have if your knowledge is weak, then we have to get our knowledge up. There's no other way to do it than to go and see these properties, right? Let me ask you a question. If I was showing you a home, Travis, and I was the agent, you were the buyer, and I walked into the Buckhead Grand, okay, which is a big high rise there. And I walked in and the concierge like, hey, Bill, how you doing? How was your holiday? What would you think?
I mean, absolutely. This is the guy I wanted to talk to.
There you go. Now, if I walked up to the concierge and I said, hey, this is my first time in the building. Where's the gym? What would you think?
Makes you seem rookie.
So based on that, what are you going to do? You see what I'm saying?
Study my potential areas.
Right. So this takes time, right? There's no other way around it. I can't like insert a chip into you and now you're the Bucket expert. Like you've got to go in and out of these properties. There's no other way to do it. Okay. Like we've talked about before, if somebody said, hey, I'm looking for a home that's less than 5 years old. It's got a 5 bedrooms, a finished basement, and used to be in a swim and tennis community. And I want to be in Alpharetta. And I just checked and I can afford a $275,000 home. And you say, oh, great. Let me go into the system and see what I can find for you. Right. And then you go into the system and they're expecting an email with properties. And you got to go back and say, hey, just kidding. I think I heard you wrong. There hasn't been that hasn't been available since 1995. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So I'm not directing this at you specifically. I'm saying it to everybody. Is our job as the economist of choice is to know the market, right? Is to go in and out of the areas that people might consider, right? So if you have a person that's showing some interest, let's say in Dunwoody or Smyrna or Duluth or Johns Creek or wherever, right? You go into the MLS and say, hey, let me learn about this market, right? And maybe you pick a couple of homes to actually physically go into, right? You'll start to see the same floor plans all across the city.
Right.
Right. And that will also help you be better at pricing, right? So if you were to be an expert in the marketplace, how would I know that? Like, how would I prove it to me, right? And you'd say, oh, well, I look at 10 homes a week, and every morning I spend 10 minutes looking at the new listings and the new listings that went under contract. So obviously I'm an expert. If you don't know how to log into MLS, you're definitely not an expert. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, it makes complete sense. I have a second part to that also.
Yeah, please.
And this might seem really amateur, but I am an amateur. So
it's okay. There's other people that probably are asking the same, don't know the answer either. It's all.
What is our benefit? Because I did have also people that are looking to rent. Now, what would be our benefit? How could we help them out finding something to rent that I don't get that when they can,
yeah. Great question.
How do we get paid on that?
Okay, let me spend just a moment on that because we actually had one other person that was asking about that this morning. Okay, so there in the MLS and FMLS, there is a rental section as well. Okay, and Pam can vouch for this. I have probably helped more renters than anyone in the office combined for the last 20 years. Okay, the vast majority of my business was built off of helping renters, so I have a very it has a dear place in my heart. Okay, um, yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, the pay sucks. However, we're in this for relationships. Okay. If I can help somebody rent a place and I get paid a few $100 for it, and then they turn around and refer me to a bunch of their young friends who buy and sell and then buy and sell and then refer me to their young friends over and over and over again, it is worth it. Trust me. Okay. It's also a great way to build your database. Okay. With that said, there are there's a section for rental, right? Rental in the FMLS. So you would search for properties just the same way that you would for a single family home or a condo or townhome for sale. Okay. The big questions you want to ask these people are number one, what is their budget? You're going to let them know. You also want to know if they have a pet, right? Because a lot of places either don't accept pets or don't accept certain types of pets, right? If they've got like 3 pit bulls and like a little horse, like let somebody else deal with them. Okay. There's some breeds that people, for insurance reasons won't allow to move in. Okay. And there's some communities that have restrictions on like size and weight and these kind of things, right? Or number. So we need to know if they have any pets. Okay, because there's generally a pet fee. Pet fees I've seen as low as about $200 and as high as like $600 or $700. Okay. And then of course you understand what else they want. Do they need a basement? How many beds do they need? How many baths do they need? Do they need to be on one floor? Do they, a lot of the same questions that we ask a buyer, right? You would access the homes and set up appointments exactly the same way. When somebody expresses an interest, you will go to the listing agent and clarify the application process. Okay, every owner is going to have a different process for screening the candidates. Okay, some are going to be professionally managed, some are going to be privately managed, so that it's the Wild West. Everything is a little bit different. It's case by case. Okay, so you ask the listing agent, hey, my client's ready to apply. What are the instructions? How can I make this as easy as possible for you? Remember, that's our theme. How can I make this as easy as possible for you? Okay. Now, that person's going to get screened. Okay. They're generally going to look. There are exceptions to this, but they're generally going to look for a number of things. They're going to make sure the most common rule of thumb that I hear is that a landlord wants to see 3 times the monthly rent in monthly income. So if you're signing up to rent a $1,500 a month place, then your income altogether, your whole family income, should be no less than $4,500. Okay, that's not a rule. That's just what you see most often, right? So you might casually say that to somebody. Say generally what landlords look for is 3 times the monthly rent and monthly income. Just want to make sure if they you're pursuing a $2,000 a month place, will there be any issue there, right? And you're kind of on the honor. You're not asking to see pay stubs or anything. You're just saying, hey, will this be an issue? Hey, they're going to run credit check. Okay. Generally speaking, if person's got flawless credit, okay, or very good credit, they're going to pay a first month's rent to move in and a 1 month's security deposit. Okay, there are exceptions to this. Again, I'm just telling you the most common things. If the person's credit is not that good, then oftentimes if they accept them, it will be based on a larger deposit, larger security deposit. Okay. Quite honestly, sometimes those people are even better tenants because like I signed a 5-year lease on one of my rentals because the woman just was coming out of bankruptcy and she wasn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. Okay. And she had a very good reason for her financial troubles. And I trusted her and she told me the truth and it's been great. Right. And she did put a little bit of extra deposit and, it's all good. I actually called her right when the pandemic started. And I said, hey, I'll give you half your deposit back. You've been great. And I don't know what your money situation is, but if don't tell me on the 31st, you're going to be late. Tell me on like the second you're going to be hit. You make sense? Okay. Not the second after the first, the second before the 31st and before the first, right? Okay. So you go through the application process, and when the person moves in is when you get paid. You'll generally get paid to represent the tenant, anywhere from a quarter of the first month's rent to the highest I've probably ever seen is about half the first month's rent. And you get that when they get it, right? So generally on move-in day, okay? And when you sign the lease, that's when you generally will pay the security deposit to hold it, okay? So every process is a bit different. You can help tenants. You can also help landlords. So if you help a landlord, then you do the pricing, the comps, the pictures, the marketing, the fielding of the calls, the lockbox on the door, all that stuff. And you set up a process with the seller or with the owner. Do you want to professionally manage it, or do you want to privately manage it? And depending on what the answer to that, do you want to allow pets? Do you not want to allow pets, right? You're doing everything on the other side. And depending on their desires, right, they will determine, that will determine the process. So for example, if you privately lease it or privately manage it, meaning you're the one in charge, not you as the agent, the owner, you got to figure out your own way to screen the people. There's a website that I've used for years called mysmartmove.com, mysmartmove.com. It's free for the landlord, and it charges the tenant right off the bat to pay for the application fee. And we use the data in there plus some additional data to screen the person. It is not your job as the agent to make a decision on whether the candidate is a good candidate or not. It is your job to help provide all the information and gather all the information that the landlord wants to see, so the landlord can make their decision. You are not going to do property management. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And right, oh,
If for example, I think I was explaining this to Corey yesterday, if somebody says, well, I don't know, maybe I will be a property manager. I say, great, you're creating a job. Can I give you the job description and the pay? Okay, great. Now, your job is to sit by your phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and field potential calls that could come in at any time. Anytime something breaks, you're going to go get 3 estimates for fixing a toilet or whatever, and decide which one's best. Then you're going to meet the prospect over there, or the vendor over there. Then you're going to deal with all the invoicing. You're going to collect all the rents and all the headache from collecting rents or not collecting rents. You're going to file all the legal notices. You're going to handle all the tax documents. Ready? Guess what? It pays somewhere between 8 and 10% of a month's rent. Does that sound like a good job to you? And some people will say, no. Okay, if it's not a good job, give it to somebody else. Okay, if that is a fair exchange of money for effort, then great. I have a longtime friend of mine, professionally hired a professional management company to manage her property. A full year went by and the manager did absolutely nothing, meaning there wasn't any work to do. There was no problem collecting the rent. There were no tenant calls. There was nothing. So she fired the property manager. Okay, the first week of managing it herself, I swear to you, like 17 things broke. Okay, so there's no like logic. It is what it is. Okay, if that's a good job, if that sounds like a good job to you, then keep it. If it doesn't sound like a good job to you, give it to somebody else. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Any questions on any of that?
yes.
I have
Yes.
one question.
Matthew, you go first.
Okay, so this is very, very helpful. Thank you, Travis, for asking that question. Now, is there a way that is there like a buyer contract, lease agreement?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. There is a document called tenant. Pam, are you here? Yeah, it's called like the exclusive tenant. I have to look up the exact title. It's basically the brokerage agreement when you're helping a tenant. I think it's called the exclusive tenant agency agreement, if I'm not mistaken. I'll give you guys the exact language later. That is what creates a client relationship between the tenant prospect and you as the agent. There's also the exclusive leasing listing agreement that you would sign if you were representing the seller, or I'm sorry, the owner. Okay. And then of course there is a lease agreement that you will help write if you are working with the owner and they're managing the property themselves. If you're working with a management company, the management company will likely provide the lease. And if you're working with a tenant, the other side will likely provide the lease. Okay.
And when is it the same process of advising, like you have a meeting and then you get that signed right up front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're going to run around like a wild man looking for rentals, and you want to make sure that they know that this isn't like a hobby of yours, right? That you're here to help them and make money. Meanwhile, you're telling them, hey, just so you know, I'm paid by the owner of the home that you rent. So my services are free to you. And, you know, I'm paid a portion of the first month's rent, which is kind of a subtle way of saying, I'm barely covering gas here, so I intend to be your agent for the rest of our lives. Clear? Makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I have, I would be willing to bet you at the exclusive tenant brokerage agreement. Thank you, John. I think that's what I said, right? I might have mixed up words. I think that's what I said. I would be willing to bet that if I took my database, okay, 700 people, something like that, and I would be willing to bet you that 90% of those people, our relationship initiated from about 3 properties. Okay. One little town, one little house in Alpharetta, one little house in Marietta, and one little house over in the La Vista North Lake Mall area. Almost everyone I've got in my database came from one of those 3 homes at one point or another. It's amazing. Okay, you never know when you're going to find the person that's just going to be the huge supporter of your business. You know, we like to talk about personality profiles. If you got a high I client, you love on them and they will tell the world you're awesome. Okay. Did I tell you guys this yesterday? I think it happened after our call. I got a call from an email a few days ago from a buyer. I had a listing about 5 years ago in Mableton. The buyer of that home emailed me 5 years later and said, hey, I'm moving. I want you to help me sell the house. And on the phone, I said, so thank you so much for thinking of me. You know, why'd you call me? Right? I just had to know. He says, the way that house presented itself 5 years ago, I knew the type of seller I was getting. And I knew that if they kept their house that way, they probably put their agent through the ringer. And that's the type of agent I wanted to work with. I'm like, whoa. Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. By the way, so everything that I just told you about rentals is when you're dealing with privately owned property. So that's a single family house, a privately owned condo, privately owned townhome, meaning not like an apartment building. Okay. Apartments, they sometimes will do finder fees, but don't do that. There's just not enough in it for you in that. If they can't find something on the private market, you can let them find a condo or an apartment. Okay. But just you know, I don't care what they rent. Even if I don't help them, I'm going to say, so hey, tell me, did you sign where did you end up finding a place? And they say, oh, we moved into a condo or an apartment in Duluth. Wonderful. Did you sign a 1-year lease, a 2-year lease, 3-year lease? And the second they tell me, I write it down because this dude needs to move in a year. Right? So I want to be involved. I want to have a conversation with him about that or her about that because it might be time to buy. It might be time to move to the other part of town. It might be time to get a bigger place or a smaller place. It doesn't make a difference to me. I'm a realtor. I'm the economist of choice. I help people make these decisions. See what I'm saying? Whenever they think of real estate, I want them to think of me. Make sense? All right, perfect. Let me give you guys a couple of other requests, okay? So I want to bring everyone's attention to this document. Did I cover all the questions? Yeah, could also be approved. Yeah, duplexes would fit too as long as they're privately owned, okay? Okay, you guys see this form? This is called the quality or life by design form. Life by design form. This was in the PC roadmaps file, which I linked to on Sunday's email. I just don't want this document to get lost in the shuffle. I just want to make sure that we are giving this the the attention that it deserves. Okay, I know Aubrey's talked about this in a couple of sessions. This is a I want you to understand, guys, this business can be as big and as profitable and as incredible as you desire it to be. Okay, you can if you're going to go ahead and be the market expert, right? If you're going to go and invest in the lockbox key and signs and office supplies and like pay us and all that stuff, you may as well sell a bunch of homes, right? So let's get clear on what it is we're actually trying to finance, right? What are our goals? Do we got to pay for college? Do we need to pay off a mortgage? Do we need to give charity to somebody? Do we need to get out of debt, pay off student loans, help our family, help our friends? The average, John, what's the statistic on this? I think we talked about it the other day. It's like 50 or 60% of Americans 50 years or older have net worths of less than $10,000. Is that right?
Something like that, or close to that, or yeah.
That's not even enough money to put you in the ground.
Even like 1,000, or can't, or wouldn't be able to afford like a $1,000 or $2,000
emergency,
emergency payment.
Okay, so guys, it doesn't have to be you. Okay, that does not have to be you. It cost us in the neighborhood of around 1,000. Well, I guess it's probably closer to 2,000 if you include the board dues, an office bill to keep your license per year. And we got people that are literally making $1 million a year. Okay, so this can be an incredible, magical opportunity for everyone. However, we got a lot of bills to pay, right? We got TV, life insurance, dog bills, entertainment, lifestyle, restaurants, etc. Right? So I want you to get real clear on what it is we're actually trying to finance, and double check our MREA2 goal to make sure that we don't just throw up a number that says, yeah, netting 100 would be great, selling 8 homes would be great, selling 14 homes would be great. Let's make sure that it's actually rooted in reality. Okay. Now, when you look at this, I want you to think big, right? Think big. Is my family operating with 1 car when ideally 2 would be better, right? If, how many homes would I need to sell in order to maybe move to a larger home, or one with a bigger backyard, or one in a better school district, or whatever's kind of on your mind, right? So whatever you come up with here, whether it means you're going to make 100 or 300 or 800 or 18 million, okay, there's a plan and we can all help you get there. So what I'm going to request of everyone to do, don't just skim through this. Really take some time, maybe with your significant other as well, and make sure that the strategy that we're laying out now to start off the year is going to actually get us to the right finish line. Okay, I don't want you to pour your heart and soul into a business that's going to generate 70 grand for you when you need 170 grand. Make sense? Has anyone taken the time to kind of complete this and maybe huddle with their wife or their husband and say, hey, honey, I need to sell this number of homes this year so that we can move, buy that cabin in the mountains, or so that we can, pay for little Joey's school. Like, you need a business budget and you need a personal world budget. I don't want to sound like your parent here, but it's part of my job to make sure that we're all aiming towards the right goal. Is that fair? You guys are awful quiet today. Oh my goodness. All the cameras are off. No one's talking. What's going on? We tired?
We're eating breakfast.
Did the bold 100 wear everyone out? Okay, let me make one other suggestion, or one other observation, okay? Which is, I am super excited to see you guys coming into the office. I think that for those that have committed to coming in the office, John, Tawantis, Brian, Victoria, Darlene, Heather.
Heather's in the office now.
I know there's people I'm missing. I'm not trying to single anyone out here. Chandrell, there you are. Come see me. Okay. I'm super happy to see it, and I would venture to say that all of you are getting great results and are feeling more productive more engaged, and you can quickly get help when you need it and all that stuff. I'm also observing one other thing, which is in the last couple of weeks, there's been, like, with the number of people that are coming in, there's less work and there's more chit chat. So I'm just going to throw it out there that we're here to be productive. Just focus on what you walked into the door to be here to do. Okay. I'm not trying to police you, but I want you to get the maximum out of your efforts here.
Oh, that's right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Bill, before we go, can I say something?
Yeah.
I just want to give a huge shout out to Corey for organizing the book club, Atomic Habits. There's so many nuggets in that book, and it was just a great time last night discussing the assignment that we had, and it is really life-changing. If you haven't had a chance to check that book out or get that book, I know John said there's an audio book, and we meet on Wednesdays. So if anyone is looking for a book that is helpful in this career that we're taking on, definitely get in the club and definitely get the book.
All right, so let me summarize. Thank you for sharing that, Matthew. Thank Corey for putting that together, and John for participating. So we're reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. There is a audio on YouTube for free, and 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock Wednesday nights. You, if you're not able to read it or listen to it, there's still a ton of value from just sitting quietly in the room and listening to other people who have learned things. Matthew, would you like to just take a quick second to share something that you've learned or that you've incorporated already?
Oh yeah, definitely. One of the things was talking about pointing and calling. So if there's some, I don't even want to use that example, but basically intention. So I can say I want to go to the gym on Wednesday. What he suggested is you say, I want to go to the gym on Wednesday. As soon as I brush my teeth, I'm going to go to the gym. And once I finish that, I'm going to come and cook my dinner. So you already have an attachment. It's called stacking. So you already have an attachment of what you're going to do as soon as you do it. Or he said he wanted to do 10 push-ups a day on his lunch break. And that was very vague. But when he started to say, as soon as I close my laptop, I'm going to do 10 push-ups on my lunch break before I heat up my lunch, it immediately happened. And he said he never missed a day because it set that intention. So
yeah, another example is like, if I want to watch the football game, I need to have a dumbbell in my hand or something like that, right? John, anything you want to share?
Just by like pairing things together, vocalizing things, bringing your habits to the forefront. Like one thing he mentioned too about if you're trying to lose weight and you want to get healthy and you're reaching for a cookie, you say to yourself, would a healthy person do this? Is this the behavior of somebody healthy? And it just makes you think. And it may not stop you, but it just makes you think. And more often than not, over time, it probably would stop you.
Right. And it breaks huge goals into systems. So it encourages just getting better 1% a day. I know when you try to take on this huge thing, sometimes it gets frustrating and seems unattainable. But as long as you're doing continuously doing the system that will lead you to that goal, it doesn't seem as big.
Yeah, and to put a real estate spin on that, what are our systems? Right, our systems are, what is the timeline and the flow of a courtship with a buyer? Right, what's the flow in the checklist for a courtship with a seller? Right, and our system for growing our business is having more conversations, right? And being strategic around when we call, who we call, how we call, and how we follow up with people, right? Also the 1% thing, like guys, this business would be incredible if I could just insert a chip into you and the entire, every contract and every negotiation strategy and every house on the market. It's just not possible right now. And so it takes some time, right? You literally have to, if you want to learn the scripts, you literally have to read them, right? Over and over and over again, practice them with somebody so that you feel more comfortable. I mean, it's like going to school, right? Like we forget sometimes that it only took us 3 weeks to get our real estate license. Like it takes a doctor 32 years to become a doctor.
30 weeks.
Right? And a hell of a lot more than $450, right? All right. You guys, I am super proud to be in business with you. I am really, really excited for 2021. I've been speaking to a lot of you individually, and we got a lot of calls today. And I'm just going to ask that you be super transparent with me on what your goals are, and I'm going to be super direct with you on how to get there. And we're going to get through this journey together. Does that sound good?
Yes, thank you.
Bill,
All right.
Bill,
Yes,
I just
sir.
have a real quick question, not really related to much of what we were talking about, but the disclosure of marketing services agreement.
Yes.
Now, I know it's just related to those 4 or 5 firms that we have the relationship with, the warranty. When is that generally presented? When is that offer? Like at what point in the process do we need to give notification?
I would give notification when they're signing the offer.
Okay.
When they're signing the offer. So basically, the only reason why that is relevant is because there is consideration given each month for those services. So like 210 writes us a check every month to have exclusive marketing
Have the relationship.
Same thing with Shelter, same thing with O'Kelly, same thing with Campbell and Brannon, right? They are paying for exclusivity, okay? And it's what's called a damn, what's the it's basically it's a
Not like a reciprocity agreement, or
no, it's not reciprocity. That would probably be illegal.
yeah.
But it's a damn, I can't remember the initials. It's basically like a legal it's like a legal agreement to keep compliant with all of like the commissions and all the MSAs, marketing service alliances, or marketing service agreements. Okay. Basically, and just so you know, these are not vendors that you're required to use. We're not able to mandate that. Okay. But is it fair to say that Kathy and her team with Shelter, and Kern and her team with O'Kelly, and Kelly and her team with 210 go out of their way to support us, right? So the request is that you go out of your way to get to know them and to learn about the service that they provide. And just like they make every effort to support your business, you make every effort to support theirs. That's essentially the deal. That document, though, notifies the buyer that there is a relationship with consideration in place. So even if they don't use those vendors, they still have to sign it. Okay.
Oh, even if we never introduce any of them into our relationship, they still need to know the buyer still needs to know that we have these relationships.
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm not sure what Melva would say, but I would go ahead and just get it signed.
It can't hurt, right? It can't hurt.
Yeah, I don't know that the extra effort that you'd have to process to determine whether you should or shouldn't sign it is not even worth it. Just get
Just
it
have them sign it.
There's nothing, we're not hiding anything, right? It's nothing illegal, and nothing with the wrong motives. It's simply we have a relationship with these other partner firms, and that's that.
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bill, could you repeat again what the name of that form is?
John, what's the official title?
Disclosure of marketing services agreement.
And
Excellent.
that is
Thank you.
held within a DocuSign. Okay. All right, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Got lots of one-on-ones today, so I'm excited for those. Please make sure that all of your numbers are updated, and make sure you're keeping a good tally, because Sunday night will be the first reporting week in January. If you're unfamiliar with the 2021 reporting, I have gone into incredibly fine detail on our Sunday email. So take a peek at that, and you guys have a wonderful day.